All right, hello everyone. So at this point in your science fair project, you have picked your topic, you've picked your question, and you've also come up with your hypothesis as to how you think the experiment is going to go. Now, you need to do some research and find out some background information or the science behind your experiment. So, today we're going to go over some research tips and we're really going to talk about credible sources. So, before starting our actual experiment, it's really time for us to get familiar with our topic. Remember, we are the experts of our science fair experiment. So, when we do research, we have a better understanding of our experiment and we're able to get an idea of how to design our project. So, where should you start? Research your topic so that you can learn more about how your topic works. So, you really should think to yourself, what is the science behind my project? You can research similar projects to get ideas for setting up and conducting your experiment. Really, to just get a general idea of what types of materials I need, what measurements I should be taking, what units. Also, the procedure. What should the step by step directions be for my experiments? You should use these similar projects almost as a model of how to set up your own project. So, when you are doing research, you need to make sure that you are using credible sites. Do not use Wikipedia. I know I've gone into why I don't like Wikipedia, but Wikipedia is a site that anyone is able to edit, whether you are an expert on that topic or not. So, credible sites usually end in .edu, .gov, .org, or .net. So when you're doing your research, you should look out for these specific types of sites. So, which sources are best to use? I want us to look at these examples. So, how to keep berries fresh in the refrigerator, make them last. If you take a look, I'm going to use my pen tool right here. This ends in .com. This is not a credible source. If I were to move on to Let's Preserve Strawberries, Penn State Extension, this ends in .edu. This is a credible source. And finally, Strawberries, Safe Methods to Store, Preserve, and Enjoy. This ends in .edu. This is another credible source. Now, search smart. There's a way to actually really narrow down your searches. So you can start your search with site:.edu, site:.gov, or site:.net. So let's say I was doing an experiment based around cyclones, and I wanted to find out the science behind cyclones. I could type in site:.edu, and then I type in my topic. It will narrow down all of my sources or all of the sites that pop up so that the only sites that come up are .edu and they are sites related to my topic of cyclones. I could do this exact same thing and change where it says .edu up at the top to .gov, .net, and it'll really just make my life a whole lot easier. So, here is an example. Let's say I was asking the question, do all liquids evaporate at the same rate? I was looking at this source right here. Now, I already know that this is a credible source because of .org. Now, what you really want to be doing is, as you are looking at these sources, you should really think about what you learned from each site that will help you with your own experiment. Not just interesting things that you're taking away, but how is this going to help you with your experiment? So, for example, if I was looking at the question, do all liquids evaporate at the same rate? I looked at this source, and something I learned directly related to my experiment was This site helps me understand which liquids may be the best to experiment on, such as water, honey, oil, and alcohol. It also helps me understand a few good questions to start off the experiment. This site gave me the idea to test in two different temperature environments to see the effect that heat has on the evaporation rate. Another experiment would be another example, I am so sorry. How does putting clean metal nails in a potato affect the baking speed? Again, this is, I know, a credible source because it ends in .edu, and I'm going to think about what I learned from this site that helped me with my own experiment. So, from this source, I learned that heat transfer is the movement of heat from warmer surfaces to cooler surfaces. The three types of heat transfer are convection, conduction, and radiation. Cooking the potato with the nails will use two of these methods. Placing the nails in the potato will create an additional source of heat transfer. So, the science behind my question has to do with heat transfer, and this site allowed me to really look at some details to help me with my experiment. So, when you are looking at doing some research for your experiment, you really need to make sure that you are using these credible sites .edu, .gov, .org, and .net. Again, to really narrow down your sources, I'm sorry I'm going through these sites pretty fast, but it's important for you to look at narrowing down your searches by going to site:/.edu or .net, .gov, .org and type in the topic of your science fair experiment. So, I hope you'd have some fun researching. Let me know if you need any help.